I apologize for my tardiness, but let's get the show on the road. If we can welcome everyone to the meeting of the Wooddale Community Development Commission. My name is Jamie Ochoa, and I'm the chairman for this committee. Ms. Secretary, can you please do a roll call?
Ms. Zadko?
Here.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Tao?
Yes.
Mr. Parenti?
Here.
Mr. Babowis is absent, as is Ms. Rudnicki. Chairman Ochoa.
Here. The CDC has a quorum present, and we'll move on to business items. We need a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 16, 2024.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
There be a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All those opposed signify by stating no. The motion carries. The minutes are approved. Moving on to our public hearings. Ms. Stacy, as chairman, request that you serve as the public hearing facilitator.
I am happy to do so. So welcome everyone to this evening's meeting. Thank you for being here. Usually our city attorney sits in this role. He may yet arrive because most of our other meetings that he attends start at 7:30. So I am in place, but if he isn't able to make it, I'm happy to help the meetings go forward as we normally do. So for the first item that we have on our agenda is a sign code variation for the Bruder Vice. And are the applicants here this evening? Yes, thank you. And staff, if you could please indicate when notice of the public hearing was published and whether you have the certificate of publication for the meeting.
Would you raise your right hand and state your name and address, please?
Yes, Andrew Coteras, 404 North Wooddale Road, Wooddale, Illinois.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Yes, a public hearing notice was published in Daily Herald newspaper on November 1st, 2024, and the certificate of publication is on file with the Community Development Department.
Thank you, Planner Gutierrez. So a public hearing is a formal presentation. It's very structured as required by the law. And what is necessary is for the commission to open a public hearing. The testimony will be provided by the applicant and the staff, and then there'll be questions from the members of the Community Development Commission, and then questions will be opened up to the audience after that. So the first thing that we'd like to move forward with is opening the public hearing. Can we have a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Tao,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Yes.
Mr. Parenti,
Yes.
Ms. Zadko,
Yes.
and Chairman Ochoa.
Yes.
That motion passes, and the public hearing is now open. So the first thing that would happen is we would request that the petitioner approach the podium and make a presentation from that location. Please note that we would request that you be sworn in before you provide testimony.
You will raise your right hand, please. State your name and address.
Mike Croyer, you want the business address or home address?
Either.
Okay. 911 Bussy Road, Elk Grove Village, Illinois.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
You may please proceed.
Thank you for taking the time tonight to review and consider our application for approval. I am here, I'm Mike Croyer with Fast Signs of Elk Grove, and with Ted Janesh, who is the head of Gebruder Weiss USA office. Tonight we are asking for a variance to the sign code for the building located at 1020 North Wooddale Road. We currently, right now, have one illuminated set of channel letters that is facing Wooddale Road. And we understand that the sign code states that this subject property does not have street frontage on the north and south sides of the building. Therefore, the two proposed signs that we have requested cannot be installed for this location. So tonight, we are asking for the variance approval to add the two logo icons, no additional text, just the icon to the north and south fin on the facing walls. This area is the north facing, and then we have the south facing where you can see the fin as well. With the south facing wall, it does face Thorndale Road, but since it is not a direct access point, and there is currently a gas station that sits between Thorndale Road and the property in question, the code, again, we understand, states that no additional signage is allowed. We are asking for a single logo icon to be installed on the fin to help give drivers location point of the building while they are exiting 390 off onto Wooddale Road. Also in the variance application, we have also stated that this building has a different architectural layout, which makes it tough for adequate signage that is visible for inbound truck traffic heading east on I-390 when exiting onto Thorndale Road. As for the north-facing wall, I'll go back, there we go. It does not have a street frontage access as well, but with adding a single logo icon to the side of the building, it will help the southbound trucks locate the building easier for the docks. With the inbound truck heading south on Wooddale Road, they have missed this building and the dock area, which causes them to pass over 390 to head further down south and then turn around to make their way back to the dock area. The logos will be LED illuminated. They will also have a white Lexan face, and the LED lights that will be concealed within the lettering. The LEDs are energy efficient with low maintenance. The intensity level will not affect any surrounding areas or disrupt any of the residential areas. The LED logo will also be set either with a solar cell or a timer to come off at dawn and to go on around dusk. During the review process internally, we also reviewed the property for a possible monument sign, and unfortunately there is no room due to the parkway being extremely close to the road, and there's no setback, as well as all the utilities are running through that parkway as well. By adding these two small logos, we feel that it will not only help traffic flow around a busy intersection, but as well as enhance the overall look of the building in Wooddale as well. So before I pass the microphone over to Ted from Gruder Weiss, I'd like to say thank you again for your time in reviewing the variance code.
Sir, would you raise your right hand and state your name and address, please?
Hi, Ted Gensch. I'm at 1020 North Wooddale Road, Wooddale, Illinois.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to present this sign variance. I'm not sure how much I could add a little bit more to Mike's presentation, but I just want to kind of quickly give you a little history of Gruder Weiss and who we are. We're an international freight forwarder. We are the oldest freight forwarder that is privately held in the world. We go back to 1487. And we've changed the name over the years. It became Gruder Weiss in 1823. So we've definitely grown. We have now currently 180 offices in 34 countries. We've got roughly about 9,000 employees. We moved to Wooddale back in 2022. We went from basically Des Plaines over to Wooddale, more because of the taxes in Cook County to DePage. What we're looking for is, I would say, a sign variance to make it definitely easier to find our building for our business partners. As Mike had pointed out, the architectural design of the building allows us, or does not allow for people to see the sign, but hopefully with a sign variance, using that same architectural design to put up our logo that people recognize us throughout the world. That's it. Thank you.
We're just done with their presentation.
Good evening, my apologies. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant based on the presentation? Does staff have any presentation you want to share? We've got two staff members here. If you could identify yourself and proceed. You're starting first with Mr. Coteras. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a presentation, thank you. And I will be giving that. I want to thank Mike and Ted for their very thorough introduction to the project. So I guess what we'd like to add is some staff perspective with respect to compliance of this request with the sign code, with the comprehensive plan, and with the future land use plan as well. As was already stated, this is the subject property here just north of the I-390 Elgin O'Hare Expressway. I'm sure many of us are familiar with that white and orange building there. In terms of zoning, it's located in the TIO Thorndale Interchange Overlay District with underlying C2 corridor commercial zoning. This use is permitted and in conformance with the applicable use regulations of the UDO, and it will not be affected by this request. The future land use map identifies this area as industrial business park likely to experience development pressure. Again, this is not affected by the request, just some context and background. So the applicant wishes to install these two additional wall signs, both LED illuminated. The first would be on the north side of the building near the loading docks, and it would be visible heading south on Wooddale Road. This sign measures approximately 17.5 square feet in area, which is less than the 100 square foot maximum allowed by the sign code. So in that sense, it's in conformance. Sign 2 would be located again on that south side fin of the building, which is this sort of unique architectural element projecting out at a 45-degree angle towards Wooddale Road. It would be visible to traffic heading northbound on Wooddale Road, eastbound on Thorndale Avenue, and likely eastbound on the expressway as well. This sign's a little bigger. It's about 48.8 square feet, which also, again, is less than that 100 square foot maximum allowed by the sign code. So originally the applicant did apply for a building permit for these signs. This is typically something that would be handled administratively by staff. But when we went to do that review, we identified this sort of issue that, in fact, there are not adjacent rights of way for these signs, which is typically something that's required for wall signs to be installed. Hence, the applicant is requesting this variation. Of course, staff published the required notice by sign and by mail. We didn't receive any public comments prior to the hearing, although we did receive one general inquiry just from a curious neighboring business owner. And so in summary, the Community Development Department finds that the request for a sign code variation is compatible with the surrounding land uses. It meets the requirements of the sign code and is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. Therefore, we recommend approval of the request. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything further from staff? Are there any questions of staff based on that report? Okay, are there any members of the public who have any questions or wish to make a comment regarding this matter? Hearing none. If there's any further questions or comments or any additional testimony, anything further the applicant wishes to add? Okay. Hearing no additional testimony, is there a motion to close the public hearing for case number CDC 2024-0009?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay. So that's to close the public hearing. Now you can proceed to the deliberation on the merits. My suggestion would be first to have a motion, and then once a motion and a second's made, you can have any discussion you wish to on that motion. The motion I would suggest for consideration for discussion would be something to the effect of, based on the submitted petition and the testimony presented, the proposed sign code variation is consistent with the City of Wooddale sign code and the comprehensive plan, and a motion to, that the Community Development Commission adopt the findings of fact included with the staff memo dated November 18, 2024, as its findings, and recommend the City Council approval to the sign code variation to enable the installation of 2 additional wall signs on the north and south sides of the existing building for the property located at 1020 North Wooddale Road in case number CDC 2024-0009. Is there such a motion?
Yes, I'll motion to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Roll call. Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr.
Motion to
Parenti?
approve?
A motion to approve the recommendation.
Yes.
Mr. Parenti?
Yes.
Mr. Tao?
Yes.
Ms. Zabel?
Yes.
And Chairman Choa?
Yes.
Okay, the motion having received the required numbers of affirmative votes, the motion then passes. That will be presented for City Council action. Can I proceed to the next one, Mr. Chairman? Okay, the next item is the second matter, CDC 2024-0008. This is the application by, sorry, you want to, we'll give a few moments just to clear your materials. Thank you very much. Okay, this case involves an application filed by Holiday Property Service Midwest, Inc. for special use for planned unit development, combined concept and final plan, special use for multiple unit dwellings, site plan review, lot consolidation to enable the construction of an apartment building at the property next door at 372 North Wooddale Road. City of Wooddale is currently the property owner. Staff, could indicate when the notice was published and whether or not you have certification of publication to the newspaper. And I just would ask that staff, this is a second public hearing, be placed under oath as she'll be providing testimony.
Would you raise your right hand and state your name and address, please?
Gosia Pocheja, 404 North Wooddale Road, Wooddale, Illinois.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you just share with us the information relative to the notice for the public hearing?
Yes, thank you. The public hearing notice was published in Daily Herald on November 1st. We do have a certificate of publication on file. We also send out notices to property owners within 250 feet of the subject property, and we placed a sign on the subject property letting everyone know that the public hearing will take place tonight.
And each of those are required by the city code and state statute?
Correct.
And the city is in compliance with that?
Correct.
Okay. Does the applicant have a presentation?
We do.
Okay, would you wish to proceed with that? And if you could identify yourself, please step to the podium. So these proceedings are being recorded, so if you could identify yourself for the CDC and for the record.
Would you raise your right hand, please?
Good evening. My name is Drew Mitchell. My address is 1 Walker, Suite 300, Clarendon Hills, Illinois, 55414.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, you can proceed.
Thank you. Well, good evening. This is a very exciting moment for Holiday Properties. We're here this evening to discuss 372 North Wooddale Road. I'm going to do my best here to punch through this, but a little background on Holiday Properties. We're a family-owned company. We were founded in 1952. We were founded by 2 architects. who were flying across the new Eisenhower Expressway system throughout the United States and building housing. Over the last 70-ish years, we've evolved quite a bit. We, at times, have been master plan business park builders in the state of Indiana. We're the largest developer of master plan business parks. We've done a lot of medical office buildings, a lot of land development. The team here tonight is DuPage County based, and we've been very, very focused on delivering catalytic transit-oriented development in DuPage County. I'm going to give you a little bit of our experience. Before I do that, we're involved in a lot of different asset classes. We have 260 team members. Our mission is to enrich lives through investment and service. I'm not going to dwell on that, but it's core to who we are and our fabric and leaving the world better than we found it, and participating in projects that have a tremendous positive impact on the community. And I mentioned we're DuPage County reputation. So I'm here, I have a little prop. Those of you that know me, I do this every once in a while. This is November 17th, 1924, Time Magazine, okay? So yesterday, this was 100 years old. I bought this recently because it has some quotes in it that are in the Grand Banking Hall in downtown Chicago across from the Federal Reserve. But in this, I found out something very interesting that's relevant right now. Which is that Calvin Coolidge had just been elected president 100 years ago, and he issued a proclamation of national Thanksgiving that shall be held on the fourth Thursday of the month, beginning with November 27th. So I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for this opportunity. I know a couple of different development groups have looked at this site. I'm thankful for knowing Stacy Springer and her past life in Glen Ellen, which I'll show you a picture of what we're building there, and it really has Stacy's fingerprints on it. In many ways. We're real people. We take our business very, very seriously, but we also try to have fun, and we try to do the right thing along the way. So not a lot of developers are going to say that kind of stuff, but we believe it and mean it. So speaking of saying, doing what we say we're going to do, these next couple of slides are examples. It's our resume, it's our CV, it's our history here in DuPage County. The first project was a vacant bank site. It had sat vacant for roughly 10 years in downtown Downers Grove, immediately west of their train station. Their comprehensive plan and their downtown comp plan called for a terminating vista, a piece of art, to replace this building that hadn't been used in a long time. On the left, you see the rendering. On the right, you see the completed product. This is 94 units. It's been full since we opened it. It's won the ORI Award, which is given to the top 1% of apartment buildings across the country based on online user reviews. Normally when people are writing stuff about you online, it's not nice, so we're really proud that our residents have loved to live there. It also won the Cornerstone Award from Downers Grove. Next, we started notice the timelines here, just realistic durations of how long these catalytic projects do take. The next is downtown Westmont. They had roughly 30 commercial vacancies in their downtown. They were trying to figure out a way to where rising tides would lift all ships. How do we bring new energy? Quincy Station got proposed. We brought roughly 90 residents there. Pleased to report that there's very little commercial vacancy downtown. Underneath the White Colonnade, we brought Whiskey Hill Brewery and Kitchen, so we have a wonderful restaurant that's opening there. Trustee Ames and Mayor Police have visited this site, and if you would like to ask them about their opinions of it, they should be able to answer that. But we're really thrilled about it. Again, this won the Community Award from the Westmont Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau, and it's really helped, I think, elevate their downtown. It's an exciting place to be. Restaurants are wanting to go there, and these are just good momentum and positive feedback loops that are really part of what we're looking for when we're out trying to identify communities where we want to spend our time and treasure. So I'll keep going. I'll pick up the pace here a little bit, but Lilac Station, this was tough to entitle. It was a former DuPage County theater. People were crying at meetings because this theater was gone. It was an atmospheric theater developed in the 1920s, and it had a lot of water going through it underground, and we didn't put that there. But eventually the building had to come down. And so we proposed this Lilac Station project, which has 118 units, an adjacent 11,000 square foot freestanding commercial building with 50 parking spaces, and it's all full. This opened up in September of 2023. All of the commercial users are identified. They're either in opening, or they're in for permit, or they're undergoing build out. There's some little things that you wouldn't notice unless I make you, and I have you a captive audience, so I'm gonna make you. We got these medallions here on the parapet wall. They were, we found them actually in the garden for the Historical Society. And these medallions sat on the DuPage Theater. We found an artisan to replicate it, repair the molding, and then we incorporated these moldings in the building. And here today, just a moment, plaque right here. It tells this great story. You also see a Purple Eats sign that was this famous sign that hung on the theater. And there's others. We saved the old ticket booth. That was from, it's over 100 years old, put 25 grand into it and made it beautiful again. And it's got seats from the theater, and we have found a poster from The Yellow Lily, which was the first silent movie to ever play there. Why am I telling you all this? Because we care a lot. We care a lot about what we're doing and what we're building. And this isn't just about slapping stuff up. It's why you got a weirdo bringing a 100-year-old Time Magazine here tonight. Okay, all right, so Glenwood Station. Glen Ellen, very awesome community, high incomes, very challenging to develop. And I don't mean to be cagey with my words, but this site was a former McChesney grocery site. McChesney's a 150-year institution in Glen Ellen. Okay, the building again had sat vacant for probably 10 years. Stacy might know exactly. She spent a lot of time in this community. And it was a very challenging site to develop, whether I talk about the glacial deposit of boulders that was here to the need for tieback license agreements from all the neighbors, but expensive, and we're getting it done, and we deliver in March of next year. And notably, Chris Walsh, our architect, was the architect on several of these, everyone except for the Burlington Station one. So we have a pretty high-powered architectural team, partially due to Stacy's insistence that we bring, she wants to be Glen Ellen, is kind of what anyhow. So their clock just went in. This is a new picture, Mike. It must be, because that just went in the last week. And we do clocks on all of our buildings. We do flag poles. We do gaslit lanterns, and there's certain things that we require on each of these transit-oriented developments. Okay, coming soon, Itasca Station. This was a several-year effort, partially because if you've ever been in downtown Itasca, there's a creek running through it, and everything's wet, and everything's in the floodplain. And so they're desirous of introducing some additional energy, attracting disposable income, supporting their business communities, but there's no sites. Mike tied up 5 sites, Mike and I, and the 5th site is the one that was dry enough to work. It's immediately north of the train station in Itasca. We helped with the village with a couple of important introductions to help create the tax increment financing district in their downtown. It's just exciting stuff happening in Itasca. We love being a part of that. So this is breaking ground in the spring. We closed on all of the land, and it's real, and this is as real as it gets. So we're kind of looking for the next girlfriend, if you will, and we've fallen in love with Wooddale. We really have, and part of it is Stacy and she representing your community so professionally, and also helping us understand this really tremendous opportunity here in the city of Wooddale. 372, all that about us. Thank you very much for being patient with me and humoring me while I present who we are, because it's important to us. Now we get to talk about the site. 372 North Wooddale Road. You're going to hear from Chris Walsh. Why don't you come on up, Chris? But essentially, this is a little bit of a look ahead. This could be a lot more milestones, but we wanted to keep it simple today for this audience, and also not be assumptive that we're going to get approvals that we need and things like that. So our hope is, though, that we're going to secure zoning and redevelopment agreement approvals by the end of the year, and then we go to work and we're building our plans and getting in for permit. We want permits issued by August of next year. We would break ground within 30 days and complete it 24 months after. If I told you it was any faster than this, I would probably not. It can be done more quickly, but I think that this is a pretty honest schedule and consistent with our experiences. Okay, with that, Chris Walsh, why don't you come on up from Tandem Architecture? I bet you're getting sworn in.
That gives you an opportunity to take a little breather. So if you could swear in the witness, please.
Would you raise your right hand and
Chris
state
Walsh,
your name?
1040 West Huron Street, Chicago, Illinois.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will jump to floor plans and the site plan. So we did review this site plan before, but there have been some tweaks, so we'll run through them again. The difference on, we did a couple things different on this site than the last people had proposed. The detention pond, which really, I think, gives a nice buffer between us and the pool aqua area behind. So we have a little bit less parking, but we are still getting a 1.42. We went with a few less units than was proposed before. We're at 150 units on 4 floors, and we've turned the building so it faces south, and we have a nice courtyard with amenities inside the courtyard. I don't know if I've got a laser on this, but I do. It doesn't work, but yeah.
Is it okay if we co-present? Can we go back and forth? Okay, I just realized I didn't describe our product at all. And just at the highest level, we're proposing a 150 unit project. It's 1.42 to 1 parking. And that's really important if we're prepared to talk about that more. And we also have our traffic consultant here today as well. And then we have a really, I think, a solid mix of units. We're about half 1 bedrooms, about 1/3 2 bedrooms, and then the balance is really split between studios and 3s. Inside of those units, we do something that's pretty different than a lot of our competition by introducing dens. These floor plans aren't the same as you go through the buildings. We drive Chris nuts, but it's good by not just having a single type of 2 and a single type of 1 is people are able to grow in our building. Life changes, behaviors change. You know, you may be downsizing in our building, you might fall in love in our building, and it happens. And then a big part of our demographic, there's 2 main primary demographics that live here. And a lot of them, about half of them might be here already, and the other half aren't. And so your one half is your pre-household formation. Typically they have a college degree, not always. And they are not married, they might be engaged, and they're looking for where to spend the rest of their life. The other half is the downsizing empty nester. They're looking to have a lower maintenance lifestyle. They often have a big home. They don't know that they're gonna rent in this building, and they will once it's done. And it allows people to age in place in our community for longer. That's really important, where we have a missing portion of our sort of the spectrum of housing, sort of post living in a home and pre-assisted living and needing a lot of help. And that's where we play really well by introducing the walkability for our product. But this is a very, very amenitized building. And we plan to tell you a little bit more about the amenity, and we would like this to be conversational if there's questions. I don't know exactly what I should be spending most of my time on. But I didn't totally introduce the whole project and what we're building. And we don't have a name either, which is unfortunate. We had played around with Wooddale Station, and that's taken. So we're in the market for a clever name. And don't be shy if you've got one. Okay.
So the way that we've oriented the building is at the northeast corner, that will be the main entrance. So that would be where everybody would be coming in. The main lobby is up that way. I don't point here, but all the amenities, there's really a straight corridor that goes from the northeast corner into the courtyard, and we feel that corner is really where the energy is going to be. Everybody would be going in and out. There is a back entrance around the back here, which has another elevator. So there's an elevator at the northeast corner, and there'd be an elevator at the southeast corner. Holiday likes to have a kind of a move-in area, so we see that as a part where everybody will pull up their trucks. When you got 150 units, there's a lot of people moving in and out, and especially at the beginning when they're trying to fill the building, it gets to be very busy. So we've really tried to make sure that has its own spot and people can move in and out. It also would serve as a second entrance for all of these farther away parking spots as they go towards Commercial Street as the parking lot fills up. So people aren't walking all the way around to the northeast corner of the building or cutting through the courtyard. So we feel like we're really trying to make it easy for life in the building. We've also added, as part of working with staff, walkway that goes all the way down to Commercial Street. So I know there's plans for parks and things like that and train stations down that way, but we've tried to make sure that there is access as you go north, east, south, and to get, around the site as well. I didn't do the landscape, but we've been working with staff here to make sure that landscaping and all that is what the village is requiring. Last thing I'll point out is on the north side, there's still, there is no interior parking in the building. This is a 4-story building with no indoor parking. But we did add garages, so there are 15 garage spaces north, so that would really be between our building here and the site. There'll be a 1-story garage that will separate this site from the south side. And there will also be bike storage in there. So here's the elevations. This is really showing materials. But you'll see the bottom is the north elevation, and then the top one is the east elevation, which is the main elevation that you'll see as you're passing by. And I do have some materials here, but we're primarily using stone at the corners. We have a mixture of brick, hardy siding, and it's synthetic wood siding, so like a Trex kind of wood, which is, these are all meant to be lifetime materials. Go to so this is the west and the south elevation. Again, showing all the different materials. We've worked with staff on colors and, noting what everything is. You can see, the stones, and Drew will get those. I think 3D elevation showed a little better and what the actual site will look like. So this is the northeast corner as you're driving from the north, looking to the right. We try to make a nice corner of the building. It's the money shot, whatever you want to call it, but something that stands out. Some people drive through here, they'll know the town, they'll know, this becomes a monument as people are driving around, just as the other slides that Drew had shown with the corner view. So the corner of the building is very special, and as you go down the building, the materials are carried through each way. But this is the main entrance, so you'll know where to go in. You know where the front entrance is of the building. And this is the other, looking northwest. You can see the courtyard, and we plan to have amenities in the courtyard, pickleball, outdoor area where people can gather. No dog park, no pool, and dog park. And that was actually last slide. So I'll let Drew jump back in.
And, we're getting close to wrapping up what we have prepared to talk about. Like I had mentioned earlier, we're happy to react. If I could just briefly describe the way that we manage these buildings, there's great care and thought that go into lots of little things. For example, our bike storage is really a bike studio, and it has all the tools that you would need to work on your bike, and down to an air pump to fill up your tires. We've introduced create rooms for our downsizing empty nesters who might want to build a Pinewood Derby with their grandkid and don't have a workroom anymore, or might replace a vacuum. We're bringing fiber optic into the units. We're bringing smart thermostats in the units. We're doing semi-custom closet build-outs. We insist on 9-foot ceilings. We have designer lighting packages. These are the things that we're doing that most of our competition isn't doing. And importantly, we have laundry rooms. Instead of every other development, it's a pantry in the kitchen, and it opens and the stacked unit is there, and my empty nesters hate it because they see their laundry basket every time they go in their kitchen to cook something. So we've got the product figured out. We just can't do 100 of them. And this is our next one that we're hopeful to do. And we're jazzed about Wooddale. We like your train service. We like the business community here. We also have identified that there's not a lot of product. We think that our product here is really something that will help not just allow people who maybe have a grandkid nearby and don't want to take care of a big house anymore, but it will also help us incubate our future homeowners, and this is critical. And when there's a resistance that we've encountered to rental housing, we're missing this opportunity to incubate these future homeowners that have had the most nice college housing experience that you can imagine. It's not the Animal House anymore. And they're leaving that environment, and they're demanding and expecting a high quality living environment. So the communities that have this product are ultimately incubating the future homeowners who figure out their dentist and their grocery store, and they live here and they raise their family here. So if we didn't create the appearance that we love what we do and we're excited, then shame on me, but thank you so much for the opportunity. I am thankful, as Calvin Coolidge was. And with that, we'd love... Oh, please, Mike O'Connor, come swear yourself in, pal.
Yeah, real quick.
If you could swear in the witness, please.
Sure.
Would
Sorry
you
about-
raise your right hand, please? State your name and address.
Michael O'Connor, 1902 Crimson Drive, Valparaiso, Indiana.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I
So
do.
help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Drew mentioned we're based in Indiana. South Bend, Indiana is our headquarters, and I live in Valparaiso, but I work on the projects in DuPage County with Drew and have everything that you've seen I've been involved in. But there's another one of our team members who's not here, Mike Doyle. Stacy's worked real closely, and the rest of the staff has worked closely with Mike. He's the project manager for this project, put his heart and soul into it to get us to this point. His father is ill, so he wasn't able to be here. So his name's Mike. I'm the B team Mike. I'm Mike. I'm the other Mike, so I came along with Drew to help, but he forgot to mention Mike Doyle, so I had to jump in and say so.
Thank you, Mike.
So yeah, Mike Doyle's really worked hard on this and done a great job. So he'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further? You don't have to, I'm just
No,
asking. if you-
nothing further. We have Mike and myself are here to answer questions for the project. We've also got Steve from Erickson, our traffic consultant. We'll be pleased to answer any questions. We got some late comments today from DuPage County. Not sure if that's under the purview of this, but thank you. We're pleased to be here, and take your gloves off. We're okay with tough feedback, okay? This is the time in our process to improve and make better. We think our project is pretty darn good, but we're eager to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the Community Development Commission have any questions for the team? Yes, sir. Mr. Peters.
Yeah, all your properties, are they all rentals?
I think the answer is almost entirely yes. We have some condominium project experience, but they're primarily rental.
Another question is, what are your price points for 1, 2, and 3 bedroom? Have you come up with one?
Yes, we have. We've engaged a market study consultant. There's a couple that you can work with. We really like Tracy Cross and Associates. They've studied this market. They're a trusted vendor and consultant for us. They've provided some guidance on this. We're roughly around starting, well, you've got some studio units in here too, and those can help you with an attractive price point, rent starting at $1,300. So we're gonna be starting around $1,495 and going up to potentially into the high 3,000s a month. Maybe low 4,000s for those. We have 1,200 square foot 3 bedrooms. These are big units. Like this one on the corner, which I'm so excited to use this wood cladding material, but that's.
It's a touch screen.
That's a unit. These are really cool. These are going to be awesome. Our units in, I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, but our Downers Grove units are going upwards of $4,500 a month for the big ones. But we're also creating an appealing price point to get into the building, and we do that through the studios and the junior ones. Remember the concept of you can grow in our building. You get a raise or a promotion, we'd love for you to upgrade your unit.
Another question is that, is there gonna be gas available in the building, or is it all electric, or?
So this used to be real easy to answer, because if you wanted to get north of $2 a foot in rent, you had to have gas. Okay, gas is considered an amenity and it's considered an upgrade. What's happened is fascinating. You're seeing Indiana surface, garden type apartment units with no gas, and they love it because gas is very expensive to bring to the building. Our preference is to have gas. We'd like gas cooking, we like gas heating, and the pushback on gas is that when you're burning at your stove, there's carbon monoxide's released, And it's a very small amount, it burns very clearly, but would you like me to build this one way or another? I think tonight I'm willing to agree with whatever you'd like. I mean, I prefer to have gas in our buildings.
I do too. I just was questioning whether it was available or not, or.
It will be available. Chris, I'm not misspeaking, right? I mean, yeah, we've been asked as of late by communities to consider removing gas from our developments, and we resist it. And it's because of this concept that's really been popular in New York to eliminate gas. We think it's actually a hit job on the fossil fuels industry from electrics, is what the lobbyists say. But we would like to have gas because our residents demand it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything further?
Parking, I see you only have parking for 1 1/4 cars per unit.
Yeah, yes. I will do my best to address parking. I'm pretty reasonably knowledgeable on it, and if I need to, Steve will welcome you up. When we're in a TOD environment, transit-oriented development environment, you have access to transit. It affects behavior, it affects car ownership. If you look within a mile of a train station, typical car ownership is 1-to-1. And so we don't believe that. As developers of real estate, we don't believe that that's true. We think that people, at least in our buildings, have more cars than that. And we have really a lot of experience here. We've been delivering and building to a 1.2-to-1 parking ratio in a transit-oriented development setting. And if I could just pause, if you imagine how apartment works and you have 3 units left and no parking, and people are demanding parking, you won't lease those 3 units. Your building becomes obsolete. It's critical for us at the front end of this to get the right parking amount. Now, what happens? There's push and pull. Sometimes a community might have a 2.0 to parking spaces per unit, and people aren't living that way. So projects won't happen. Our experience in this nearly identical transit-oriented development project has been consistently 5 in a row at 1.2-to-1 or 1.25-to-1, okay? Now, we're at 1.42-to-1 here. Why? Couple reasons. One, I'm a little bit further from the train. It's a 10-minute walk, not a 3-minute walk. So we're trying to react to anticipated need for additional parking. That's the first thing. The second thing that we've been doing to manage parking is this concept of Envoy. We were the first real estate company to bring it to Chicago. Now a lot of groups are doing it. We've done it in every one of our buildings. It's a Tesla, an electric vehicle. That's our building residents can use. They can use their fob, check it out, use it for 3 hours, check it out for a day. It's $12 an hour. And so what happens behaviorally is that people then stop needing a second car. And it's the downsizing empty nesters who move in with 2 cars on day 1, and 3 months in they don't have it. But this is my answer as a developer. Steve, you want to come up here and address parking in a transit-oriented development setting? Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I would just ask you to identify yourself and be sworn.
I'm Stephen Corcoran.
Would you raise your right hand, please, and state your name and address?
Stephen Corcoran, 145 Commerce Drive, Grace Lake, Illinois.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Again, in relative to parking, the village code right now is 1.25 for residential in a TOD environment. So we are exceeding code, and we're providing a 1.42. Studies of not just this area, but throughout the Chicagoland area, basically, as he mentioned, there's 2 types of kind of basic residents. The new, starting their family, starting their adult life, and they don't have a lot of money, so they tend to not own that much cars, and they take advantage of that by being near a train station. So if they work downtown, they don't need a car, or they use it very rarely, so they don't, auto ownership isn't as high. And then, again, the empty nesters, as they start to downsize and reduce the number of cars. In the appendix of my report, I think I put in a couple pages, there was an RTA study of 50 or 60 suburbs where they analyzed what people were downsizing from their single-family homes to these types of developments. And they were basically, on average, only taking 1.35 cars per rental unit to as they were downsizing, not needing a car and taking advantage of the train to use their travel, as well as the shared cars, zip cars, things like that.
Anything further?
Will there be any commercial spaces in the building?
No, there are no commercial spaces. Yeah.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Any other members have anything? Yes.
I've got comment and then some questions. Sorry that Terry from Gruber Vice left, because logistics businesses are gonna boom our area, and they already have. So if he was here to hear this, it would be a plus. So I would suggest proposing, not just him, all the logistics businesses around the area, right next to 390, would be on top of it. Questions regarding parking. Have you entertained the idea of shuttle service for Metra?
No, but I really like it. I mean, for us, one of the things that we've struggled a little bit with is the 10-minute walk to the train. And that's part of the reason why we're reacting already beyond code at the 1.25 to 1, that we think we're gonna need additional parking. I love this idea. And I'd like to just take a chance to think about it and talk it over with our team.
Before you leave the podium, the access towards Metra from this property, crossing Wooddale Road, crossing Irving.
I'm worried.
There's not an easy access into the Metra parking lot. So does this team need to address Metra, or is this our team with the property that's Metra's property by the Shell station? You've got that black fence that runs Irving Park Road, where the road, it's kind of like a peninsula of grass behind that fence, but there's no access walkway to the south side of the track. So if people are walking from this unit, they're gonna need to establish a safe walkway there. So that, in addition to the shuttle, might be something to look at on your end.
Yeah, that would be, you're talking about on some place other than the property that's before you. Is that what
Yes,
you're-
I mean, they're addressing the walkway towards Metra, going a little bit further, getting to the Metra line. That walkway needs to be established before you sell that as accessible to Metra.
This is resonating with me because what we're describing is the pedestrian experience from the new building to the Metro station. And it's got to feel safe, and I think it needs to exist outside of any potential shuttle solution. Stacy, I think we could work with your team to just understand exactly what that path is. Is there opportunity to improve wayfinding signage and any other things that we could be doing to increase the sense of pedestrian safety is important to us. That's my reaction, Chris. I don't know. This is not unusual for us to be stumped by these kinds of thoughtful questions, actually, because sometimes we're not thinking about it till you get to the moment. So on this one too, I'd like to further explore what the pedestrian experience is between our building and the Metro station and identify ways that we could improve it if necessary.
Would city staff want to incorporate that when you do your presentation?
Yes, one thing I would add is, obviously it's a good suggestion, but it's not necessarily something that's part of the petition today. It's something we can look into. As a matter of fact, we actually have at least a couple employers who do take the station and come to City Hall regularly, so there is a way for them to get here. I know there's a number of employees that actually walk to the industrial park from the train station. I'm looking at the aerial right now. There is a sidewalk along Irving Park Road that takes you all the way to the platform. To the platform.
Okay.
So I think that connection is there. Maybe it's just.
I mean, I've
yeah.
taken Metra into the city, but not come from that way.
Yeah.
But I've actually walked to the post
Yeah.
office from my residence, and getting there, I had to actually cross through the station and then walk behind
Gotcha.
to get
Yeah.
to the post
No,
office.
based
So-
on the aerial photography from 2023, and we can try to bring it up, but there is a sidewalk along kind of south side of the train.
And I only
the
know
train
from
tracks.
Streetscape, where we had that plot of land that was Metra's that they had to tend to when we wanted to put the sculptures in.
Anything, any other questions of the applicant?
Yeah, I got it. Go ahead.
Is there some kind of projection of how many residents would be using Metra?
Yes, I think we can project that. It's roughly a third. About 3 and 4 of our residents use the Metro once in a year. Okay, so the ones that are using it every day, it's a 1 in 4 to 1 in 3. It's in that range.
Any follow-up?
Laundry facilities for 150 apartments, how is that arranged?
I'm sorry, what was the facility?
Laundry facilities.
Oh, laundry. So this is really a condo quality development. It's just condominiums, just almost going back to an earlier question, are very hard to finance. You need to pre-sell a third. It's hard to get anything of any substance or scale on a condo. Oh, man. I totally lost your question.
Laundry.
Oh, laundry. Every unit has in-unit washer dryer, and they're full-size, side-by-side washer dryers. And certain occasions we have to stack them because of space limitation. We very much resist putting them in the equivalent of a coat closet. We want a wire above with you can put your laundry detergent, and there's room for a laundry basket. And so that's how every unit has an internal washer dryer in the unit.
They have internal ones.
They're en suite, sir. Every unit will have a washer dryer. If you live there, you don't have to go anywhere to do your laundry other than your laundry room in your unit.
I just came across people that had bought in apartments before, and they found out they had a last-minute thought they had to go down in the basement for our laundry service, and it was always
Well, we love them.
busy.
They end up moving in our building.
Okay. How about storage?
So
facilities?
storage, you're asking some great questions. Okay, so storage is special. It's especially important to the downsizing empty nesters. Why? They had a 3,400 square foot house and they're moving in a 1,200 square foot apartment. So we incorporate storage throughout our projects. It's thoughtful. There's often closets and lockers. In Glen Ellen, we have 10 that have locking doors. And then in Lilac Station, we have 40 metal lockers in our parking garage. So there's storage that's thought of here. It's being included in the development. And it's part of our programming because our residents require it.
Another question, fees for garage parking, what would they be?
Mike Doyle would be able to answer that in 1 second. I don't know that I have that information.
Okay.
Do you want me to speculate?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would speculate that our surface parking is going to be $50 to $75 a month, and that the carports are going to be closer to $250.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much. You can
Thank you.
Take a seat. We can hear from the staff presentation. Ms. Bocheja, are you going to lead that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Just
thank you.
1 second to pull up the presentation.
And not sure if you've been sworn.
Yes.
Okay.
We need the same amount of energy and charisma, Gosha.
I'm sorry, that's going to be very difficult.
And props, if you have props, I think they would appreciate those.
Just my presentation. I apologize. I know. Thank you so much. I wanted to kind of give a quick overview of the zoning request. Obviously, the applicants have done an amazing job presenting their project and their company overall. So the zoning requests that are in front of the commission today include the special use for a multiple unit dwelling building, which is it's a special use required in that particular zoning district, which is TCB. We have a special use for planned unit development, and the developer is seeking approval of the concept plan and the final plan at the same time, which is permitted by our code. We have a site plan review, which is an administrative review that was done as part of our staff review. And the lot consolidation, there are actually 2 lots. The site consists of 2 lots that will be consolidated into 1. Lot consolidations are something that typically go straight to city council, but we just wanted to present this as part of the complete project. The overall location everyone is very familiar with, but we wanted to include it because this is where the metro station is, and then we've got the Metro Rail and also Irving Park Road just for visual purposes. This is our zoning map. So I mentioned the property is zoned TCB, Town Center Business District. This is really intended to create developments that are a combination of commercial, mixed use, and also residential would be something that falls under this category. The property is surrounded by the city hall that's directly to the north, where we're located right now, and we also have the Park District property that has the park, the water park, directly adjacent to the west. The property to the south is where there are future plans for construction of the community park. So this is something that is, the city is actively working with a consultant. And then we can see the surrounding neighborhood. There's more TCB properties directly on the opposite side of Wooddale Road, surrounded by residential. The future land use map from our comprehensive plan from 2018 designated the property as retail commercial, and the multi-family development essentially is a commercial use because it will generate income. Therefore, we find that it fits within the designated category, and also the proposed development helps to meet multiple goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan, and they were outlined in more detail in the staff memo. The existing conditions on site, this site is a little bit over 4.5 acres. As I mentioned, 2 lots that will be consolidated into 1. The site was previously occupied by SBT Bank. The building was itself demolished by the city in 2023, but the parking lot and a lot of the vegetation still remains on site. There's the surface parking that's back over there. I wanted to, maybe I'll go back a little bit if I may, not this one, sorry. A little bit about the history of the property, because some of you are familiar that this property, subject property, has gone through the approvals before. So we've had a couple of developers that were interested. They have gone through the zoning entitlement process, but the very first one back in 2020, they were able to obtain approval, but the approval had certain conditions that they were not able to meet, and they were related to stormwater management and also the exterior materials. So that project did not move forward. The second developer was also able to obtain city council approval back in 2022. And once they started thinking about construction and moving into, and a couple years ago there was a lot happening in financial world, is just they were not able to move forward because of financial reasons. So that's why in 2023, the city started working with multiple developers. There was a different developer that was interested in Holiday Properties, became interested in the property back in 23. So this is something that's been ongoing for months now, for more than a year actually, which led us to a memorandum of understanding that was signed back in May of this year that spelled out the development, sort of the items that will be in the redevelopment agreement in terms of what are we looking for in terms of the product that will be installed and what are the deadlines and so on. And this was a document that was approved by City Council between the developer and the city. So that kind of, I should have prefaced with that. I do want to mention that the property is owned by the city. The city purchased it back in 2015, so it's been in our ownership for quite some time. So moving forward to the site plan that we're all very familiar with. So this is a one building that has 4 stories, 150 units, which is a mix of studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and there are a few 3-bedroom apartments, 214 parking spaces, which exceeds our code requirement. So this requirement is met. Trash enclosure is often a topic of discussion, so this building will have interior trash collection, so the truck will be able to pull up in the back of the building, so there will not be an exterior trash enclosure or the need for it. And obviously multiple amenities that were outlined before that will be available to the residents. In terms of engineering, so every project that we review during the zoning entitlement process, we always send to our engineer. They look at least the preliminary stormwater management. This project will trigger stormwater detention requirements based on our city code, but also on the DuPage County Stormwater Ordinance. The stormwater detention on site will be provided by the areas that are highlighted in green. So we have a detention pond that will be located behind the building. And there's also a plan for an underground storage vault. So those will be the main items how stormwater will be handled on site. The city engineers have reviewed the preliminary plans. They've issued comments, revisions have been made, and the city engineer was able to say that, yes, this project is ready to go through the zoning entitlement process. There are obviously still a few comments that are to be resolved, but that's very typical for developments like this, because once there's a zoning approval, that gives the green light to the developer to move forward with the construction drawings, and that's where the final engineering will be worked out. The approval of this special use and pretty much all the prior special uses that we've had always includes an item that the approval is subject to the approval of the final engineering, which is very typical. I wanted to point out the interior circulation that we also talked a little bit before. So there's a sidewalk that walks all the way around the building. There are striped areas that lead the traffic through the parking areas or drive aisles just to provide that connectivity. That is something that our code requires. There is a sidewalk that leads all the way to the south, which will provide connection either through Commercial Street to the train station or to the community park that's hopefully coming soon. And I do want to point out that the site already has access to city utilities that are in Wooddale Road, so that is not a problem. A traffic impact study, I did want to mention as well, because we've had prior developers, a lot of them would do traffic impact studies, but because it's been so years, this particular developer, Holiday Properties, they updated it just to make sure that we have current information in there. The traffic impact study was reviewed by city engineer. A couple comments were issued, those were addressed. Essentially, the finding is that there should not be a significant impact or anything that would trigger any need for development, because the existing street structure should be able to support the proposed development. The landscape plan I wanted to mention, and this is a little bit in depth, but we kind of wanted to go through it because our code is very particular. It's rather strict when it comes to landscaping, especially trees. Tree preservation ordinance requires a significant number of replacement trees for every tree that gets removed. So I'll run through these numbers hopefully real quick. So there are 190 trees on site right now. A lot of it is there's, I apologize, I don't have the existing site plan, but there's a very heavily wooded area in the back of the site, kind of towards the water park. The proposal calls for 187 trees to be removed, but 137 of those are considered nuisance trees. Nuisance trees would be dead trees, diseased trees, or trees that are in really poor condition. City Council a couple months ago actually approved a text amendment stating that nuisance trees or diseased trees do not require replacement, because in a lot of cases those could be trees that are prohibited that we don't really want it in the first place anyway. So if we do that calculation, there's effectively only 50 trees that would require replacement. But our code says that for those 50, the developer would have to provide 237 replacement trees for the new development, which is a significant number. There is an option for the applicant to seek an administrative variation to reduce that number by 25%. That was reviewed and approved by development administrators. So the number we have is 179 replacement trees that need to be provided. Obviously, as you can see, the site is well designed. There's building and there's circulation. There's a minimum width for drive aisles that needs to be provided. So there's limited space to be able to plant those trees. The proposal calls for 82 trees to be planted on site, which means that there's a deviation request. So the developer is seeking relief to not provide 79 trees that would be required by the code, but they're just not able to be accommodated on site. The prior developer The development that was approved for this site was not able to accommodate 137 trees. They were asked as one of the conditions of the approval to provide 40 trees off-site, but if you do that math, we're pretty much at the same. There's still, the 97 was the difference, the deviation that was requested and approved for the prior developer. I do want to point out that there is an option in our code to pay a fee in lieu, but for the number of requested trees, the fee is $650 per tree. It would equal more than $65,000 just for the required tree. So the request from the developer is to just waive the requirement for the 79 trees without having to pay the fee in lieu. So that takes us to just the rendering of this side. We already had an overview of the materials, but we do overall the mix of the materials. We have masonry, we have fiber cement siding, and some synthetic siding. So a number of different materials that are being proposed. So hopefully very quickly now I'll run through the deviations. There are 6 deviations or items that the developer is seeking relief from. The PUD process allows the developer to seek these certain deviations in order to be able to provide a better quality product or something that's a little bit more innovative or has a better benefit for the city. Number 6 of deviations is actually fairly low. We've had a number of developments over the years that sometimes would go into more than 10 deviations, so this is fairly reasonable. The first deviation that we've got is for the driveway offset, and I try to do color coding, so these are the sort of the red lines approximately that are showing. Our code states that if you're building a new development and you have a driveway into that development, it should be aligned with a driveway that's on the opposite side of the road, or it has to be offset by 150 feet. Because the properties that are on the opposite side of Wooddale Road are fairly smaller, there's a lot of these driveways in there. So it's very, very difficult for the developer to be able to either align them perfectly or provide that 150-foot setback. So they are seeking a deviation to request that offset requirement from 150 to 80. This is a fairly common deviation that we've seen for developments in the past. Street transition is the second deviation that's being requested. Our code says that the parking spaces may not be closer to the property line than 30 feet. And this is really to allow the vehicles to stack. There's the queue in line if you're trying to exit the site, so that those cars that are waiting in line would not be blocking the parking spaces. There are a couple areas, I think we're coming from either 15 feet, 22 feet. So the request is to go from the 30-foot requirement to 15 feet, which is the smallest number. One thing that I wanted to point out, though, is when we actually measure the distance from that parking space to the curb cut of the road, we are able to meet the 30-foot setback. But because our code tells us to measure at the property line, that's where the sort of the deviation comes in. So we have to request a deviation, but in fact, in terms of operation, there should be sufficient space for the vehicles to be able to be parked there. Deviation number 4 is the parking setback. Once again, this comes with the building layout, the fact that we require foundation landscaping, we require a sidewalk all the way around the building, then the parking spaces and the specific drive aisle widths. There are a couple areas that are highlighted in orange here, that do not meet the required 5-foot setback for the parking lot. So on the rear and the side property lines, the parking lot should be 5 feet away. The request, it kind of varies between 4 feet, a couple inches, but the smallest dimension is 3 feet and 8 inches. The main reason for that is that the property lines are not parallel. So it starts off with the proper dimension of 5 feet, but then as we keep going, that dimension shifts a little bit. So essentially, it's a couple inches or a foot or so that is being sought as a relief. Moving on with the deviation, we have the replacement trees that I've mentioned before. So 97 is the number that is being requested because those trees are not being able to be accommodated on site. And then we also have a request for shade trees. So we have a specific code requirement for perimeter landscaping and parking lot landscaping. It says that a shade tree shall be provided for every 75 feet of linear dimension of let's say, a side property line. We have a couple conflicts, and so these are the areas that are highlighted in blue. where, for example, this particular line, we already mentioned that this is where a setback deviation is being sought. There's sometimes only 3 feet allowed, so it's very difficult to be able to accommodate a tree there. There's also a retaining wall right over there. I think it's only a foot. It's not very high, but it's still. So the trees just won't be able to be accommodated in those areas. We also have a requirement that even if there are shade trees, they have to be spaced no more than 40 feet. We have a couple instances where we do have 2 shade trees here, but then this distance is more than 40 feet, so that's why it's a deviation. We kind of grouped it all together. So essentially between these property lines and sort of the existing conditions that make planting of the trees difficult, there's about 7 shade trees that are missing, and some of the spacing isn't correct. And lastly, we have a deviation request for the materials. So our code contains specific design guidelines for commercial buildings. And essentially it states that at least 50% of the exterior materials and elevations that are visible from any public right-of-way or street have to be durable materials. So we're talking masonry, brick. The proposal that we have, this is really the main elevation, the east elevation, which will be visible from Wooddale Road. The request for the east elevation is to go down to 36. And the reason for that is a lot of it is playing with the different materials, playing with the designs. City staff and the developer were in contact, and we arrived at this particular elevation with something that the developer was comfortable with. So ultimately, this is a request for deviation. It is a request that was approved for the prior developer as well. One thing that I did want to mention is that the prior development, the east elevation, the durable material calculation for this east elevation was at 22%, and Holiday is able to increase it to 36%. So it's still a lot more of those, the brick and stone, the durable materials in this front elevation that we will see. So that concludes the deviations. I do want to point out that I have not received any specific contact in terms of public comment. We did publish all the notices and the sign was placed. So I haven't had any communication with anyone from the public that wished to discuss this project. Therefore, we wanted to recommend approval of the petition, as we find that it is consistent with our Unified Development Ordinance, it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, and it is consistent with the Homes for Changing Regions study. This is a study that was done by CMAP back in 2015, and essentially the 2 demographic groups that were described by the applicant. So we have the young people out of college, and also the older generations that are looking to downsize. Those were the 2 groups that were identified by that plan back in 2015 as the groups that will need housing in the future. So this development definitely helps to address that recommendation. Very briefly, the last thing I wanted to mention are the conditions. So generally, as we do with any type of special use for a planned unit development, there are standard conditions that we wanted to mention. So the first one is substantial conformance with the staff memo. The staff memo and all the exhibits really outline the whole project. So the idea is that as the development moves forward, it will have to be constructed along with the approved site plan. We have final engineering approval, which is typical. Then we have a couple notes about the rooftop units. In this case, I think there's a parapet wall. So as of right now, the way it's presented, the rooftop units should not be shown, but sometimes during construction that changes. So if in fact there are any units on top of the building that end up being visible, the developer will have to provide screening for them. And the second one is the obligation to maintain the landscaping. So we want to make sure that whatever the approved landscape plan is for the properties, that's something that remains for the years to come. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any members of the CDC have questions for staff? Yes, sir.
Tree replacement, damage to trees on property, that's responsibility of the applicant.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Anything further? Do any members of the public have any questions you want to ask staff in connection with this? Yes, sir. If you could step to the podium, please identify yourself, and we would ask that you be placed under oath as well.
Please raise your right hand and state your name and address.
My name is Jimmy Shea. I live at 422 North Wooddale Road, Wooddale, Illinois.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
You had questions?
I have a couple questions and a brief statement, if you don't mind.
Okay. Why don't you start with the questions then?
Okay. I think that what I'm noticing in this plan here, there seems to be a lack of clarity on where excess cars would go. If there were to be excess cars, I don't know where they would be parking around the neighborhood. Do you want me to go through these one at a time, or do you want me to?
Is that your first question? Yeah.
Yeah.
Does staff, do you have any, or does the applicant wish to address that?
I guess honestly, I haven't looked into it. I presume there is on-street parking on commercial. I'm not aware of any restrictions, but that's something that we can look into.
Okay. Anything further?
Yeah, I mean, people were kind of talking about the walk to the metro station. It's not really ideal as far as walking there is concerned. Maybe 10 minutes for a tall gentleman such as yourself, but for someone with a little shorter legs like me, maybe let's push it to 15. I guess my question is, why are we building it on this side of the tracks with constant trains coming, everything like that? I just think it is going to lead to an increase in congestion. And if people were not to make the deadline as the trains come through, and now with the impending increase in freight trains we're facing, how do we, why are we choosing this side of the tracks to build it on?
Staff, do you want to reference the comprehensive plan with respect to that?
Yes, so the subject property, as I mentioned, was purchased by the city back in 2015, and it is zoned TCB, which is Town Center Business District. That was the intent of the property. Unfortunately, to the south of the train stations, there just aren't any properties that are available for this type of development. So the comprehensive plan sort of identified this area as something for potential redevelopment. There is actually a TIF district in line. So this is something that's been sort of in the works for a long time. If properties were to become available on the south side of train station, that's something that could be explored, but unfortunately there aren't any at this point.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So as it stands right now, during train stops and metro stops, the traffic is typically backed up to my house, which is, for those of you who know the area, right there. So I'm wondering, how do we propose getting people in and out of the parking lot, and what are the backups going to look like within the parking lot as people try to enter and leave the area, if there's going to be traffic backed up when the train gates are down?
Staff want to address, or we want to have the developer address that aspect of it? We've got a traffic expert here, so I could just ask you, because we are being recorded, if you could just yield the microphone briefly, so
Sure,
our
yeah.
traffic expert, he has been previously sworn. Sir, if you could address that. So if I understand your question is that what will happen if the train gates are down to the traffic heading south on Wooddale Road?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, again, Steve Corcoran with Erickson Engineering. Of course, just like any suburban downtown radiating from the city of Chicago, we deal with this problem all the time, whether it's on this train line, the Northwest Suburban, or basically all the train lines where a train comes through again, or it's a freight line, a freight train comes through and traffic backs up while we're waiting for the gates for the train to pass, load, unload passengers, or et cetera. So yes, at times, as he mentioned, that there's going to be the possibility of when the gate is down, the traffic backs up along Wooddale Road and blocks one or both of our entrances. Obviously, we have that connection to commercial, so there is an alternate way to get out of the property versus maybe some of the other properties along Wooddale Road, so that is an out. But again, these are low generating traffic use. So we're talking, it depends how long, obviously, the gate is blocked, but we're talking about 3, 5, 6, 7 cars waiting to get out at most of the two entrances. So we're talking about backups of 2 or 3 cars potentially each driveway as they're waiting for the the train traffic to clear. But again, unfortunately, that's what we experience at all the suburban downtowns when the train goes through. But in this case, we used to have a back door to the site for when that happens.
Okay, thank you. If you could step aside. Sir, if you have any further questions?
Sorry, I'm trying to process a lot of stuff I heard tonight, so I'm not, I
It
don't
was
have-
it was a lot of material, so.
It was certainly a lot of material. I guess for right now, that is kind of all the direct questions I have. I think that one of the things I'd like to say just to the committee in general and to you guys, thank you guys for coming out and giving such a thorough presentation. You did answer a lot of questions that I had as we were just going through some of this. I think that one of the things that I would like to hear from the Community Development Commission in general, and the one thing I don't think that I have heard, is impact to current residents. Being a resident of Wooddale myself, my wife and I made a decision to commit to being members of this community, and we bought property here, and we are raising a family here, currently one dog, more to come, but we are committed to being members of this community here, and I haven't heard questions or statements from either party regarding the current community that lives here right now. I do think we're talking about a fairly large impact in terms of just in terms of disruption. We're talking about a 2-year construction site, and I don't know when any of you have seen something constructed of this size next to your building or across from your property. It's large. It's a lot to deal with. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of traffic. And to deal with that for 2 years, followed by then a significant increase in traffic, cars, again, noise, things like that. So I guess my statement would be, I just want everyone here, as this progresses, which it seems like everyone is in favor of it, please keep the current community in mind. I know we're trying to establish a new community here, but there are people who live in Wooddale who love living here, and please keep us top of mind when decisions are being made and when, this is coming to fruition, I guess.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I think just to your point, the city code does provide and afford protections, so there's extensive engineering, make sure that any building on that's not going to result in water going on off-site, and also some of the rules regarding construction as to when you can start, to have that all area is going to be segregated. So there are safeguards built into the existing code. Obviously there's going to be disruption that's going to happen, but to minimize as best it can, the city code does afford that protection from any type of development. So.
Which I do understand. Currently, the city rules sit at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. So 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. There is a rule in place, but that is quite a significant portion of your wake and your week and your waking hours, where you could be distracted by heavy machinery, dust, noise, etc. Again. And I guess one final thing is, what sort of recourse do the community members have if, say, the traffic study was inaccurate and now traffic is a problem, if we're having trouble commuting in and out of our own neighborhood, things like that? I guess just where do we go from there? Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate your comments. Okay. At this point, is there any additional testimony, either from the applicant or from the city? Okay. We'll proceed with the deliberation on the request. There will be a motion will be necessary. You can have the discussion once the motion's on the floor. Based on the petitions submitted and the testimony presented, the proposed project, according to the staff report, meets the standards consistent with the city's UDO and comprehensive plan. Is there a motion that the Community Development Commission adopt the findings of fact included within the staff memo dated November 18, 2024, as their findings, and recommend the City Council approval of the special use for a plan unit development, a combined concept and final plan, special use for multiple family dwellings, site plan review, and lot consolidation to construct a new multi-unit rental building at 372 North Wooddale Road in case number CDC 2004-0008, subject to the following conditions that staff reported. Special use, PUD, and site plan review is to substantially conform with the staff memo dated November 18, 2024, along with the exhibits that were attached to that. And the plans can be modified simply to meet the code requirements. Where there are deviations from the city code that have been requested as part of the approval, the existing codes will be met as applicable at the time of the permit application. It'd also be subject to the condition that final engineering is approved, and the further condition is if rooftop units are visible from the streets, the developer will be required to provide screening. And a final condition, the developer has an ongoing obligation to maintain the landscaping on site in accordance with the approved landscape plan. Is there such a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Okay. Ms. Zadko?
Yes.
Mr. Tao?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Parenti?
Yes.
And Chairman Ochoa?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, the motion carries. That will conclude tonight's hearing on this matter.
All right, thank you. With that, we need a motion to, staff liaison report. Before I jump over
Yes,
to a motion
thank
to
you,
adjourn.
thank you. Yes, so we started doing this the last meeting, I think. I wanted to provide a couple updates on the sort of ongoing projects or the projects that have gone in front of the commission for the zoning entitlement process, because obviously, as you're aware, you're kind of the first step of the process, then moves on to city council, and then we go through the building permit process and so on. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight first is the public hearing sign text amendment. This was a text amendment that we had earlier in the year. City council approved it in May. I apologize, there's a typo on there. It was May of 2024. So I wanted to kind of show you an example. This was a sign that was used, I think, for the sign variation. So our Public Works acquired a number of these signs, and were able to change the dates and just place the sign on the subject property. This photo doesn't show it very well. There is a QR code that will take the individual to our website where all the public hearing notices are posted, so they can get more familiar with the actual purpose of the public hearing. So these have been working really well. Another project that I wanted to highlight was the Bryn Mawr Phase 2, but this was the first phase for CyrusOne, the data centers development. This was approved back in March of 2024. We finally were able to approve the site and the building permits today, actually, I think. We just got the approval from our civil engineer. It took a while, back and forth, but we're very happy that construction, they will be able to start the site construction very soon, probably until the winter, and the rest of it will come next year. So that's very exciting. So this was for the construction of the first data center along right to the south of Bryn Mawr. The Wooddale Park District is another project that we've seen. It was approved by City Council in June. Those permits have been issued, so if you ever drive by 111 Foster, you'll see a lot of construction happening there, and the playground equipment and the park is under construction, so they're moving well. The CIT was a special use. There are actually, I think, multiple special uses that were granted back in February. Those permits have also been issued, and you'll notice it's at the corner of Middle and Wooddale Road, 101 Middle. There's a lot of construction happening. They're working on their parking right now, so we're hopeful they're going to be able to begin operations shortly. And lastly, Bryn Mawr Phase 3, which is the very last phase of the Bryn Mawr development. Also for CyrusOne, this will be construction of additional 3 data center buildings. That one we're preparing for a public hearing. We do have a tentative date for actually next month, for December, but we're working with the developer just to make sure all the dates work for them. So that one is coming. And this will be for a special use for a planned unit development as well, similar to what we have today. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Gosha. Okay, we need a motion to adjourn.
The motion. Second.
There being a motion and a second, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All those opposed signify by stating no. The motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.